Good morning and welcome again to Stuart. I'm Dr. Patty Fagan. I'm the head of school and have been privileged to be serving as head of school for 8 years now. And this is our second, as we mentioned, second conference. And we are thrilled to see all of you here. You're going to have an amazing day. Since our last Lead Like a Girl conference, Stuart has launched the National Center for Girls Leadership at Stuart. The National Center for Girls Leadership works to support and empower the next generation of female leaders. Through research, professional programming, development of innovative curriculum, we serve as a resource to parents, students, and educators across the globe. We're proud to be leading the way in educating and inspiring young women to excel in the fields of STEM, finance, entrepreneurialism, and leadership. We are especially proud to open our doors to the greater community and to invite accomplished women leaders in their fields to serve as mentors and to share their experiences with you. Today, we offer all of these girls the chance to learn and experience firsthand in the same way that you as adults are offered workshops or professional development. Today, you will lead like a girl. I'd like to thank our lead sponsors for their partnership in helping us to empower this next generation of young women leaders. Our risk-taker sponsors are BlackRock, Bristol-Myers Squibb, and Sycor. Our ceiling breaker sponsors are Johnson & Johnson, the Majeski Foundation, and the Norton Solace Group. Thanks to them. And lastly, our trailblazer sponsors, Conair Corporation, Fox Rothschild, Glenmead Trust, Greg and Lauren Mario, MD Advantage, Merrill Lynch Skull Writings Group, Pepper Hamilton, and Prudential Financial. Their support makes all of this possible. We're so proud to partner with them, and we are inspired by their genuine interest and growing commitment to really propelling young women forward. We know, and they do too, that investing in young women is not only a good bet, but it's a sure thing. So thank you and thank them for prioritizing Lead Like a Girl. Today's conference is truly for girls and by girls. So I'd like to especially thank the young women in Stuart's Upper School Leadership Endorsement Program who've been involved in the designing and planning of this conference throughout the school year. They will be around in blue blazers. Thank them, get to know them. They are tomorrow's leaders. And so, yes, great job. And so without further ado, it is going to be my great honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Stephanie Ruhle. Stephanie Ruhle anchors MSNBC Live with Stephanie Ruhle and MSNBC Live with Velshi Ruhle on weekday mornings, exploring the intersection of business, politics, and the economy. Previously, Ms. Ruhle served as anchor and managing editor for Bloomberg Television and editor-at-large for Bloomberg News, where she co-hosted Bloomberg, their flagship morning show featuring global thought leaders across business, tech, and media. Prior to Bloomberg, Ms. Ruhle worked at Deutsche Bank, serving as managing director in global markets senior relationship management. She began her career at Credit Suisse, where she was the highest producing credit derivative salesperson in the United States. Stephanie plays an active role in women's leadership, development, having founded the Corporate Investment Bank Women's Network and co-chairing Women on Wall Street. She is a member of the Board of Trustees for Girls Incorporated, New York City, an organization that provides life-changing programs inspiring girls to be strong, smart, and bold. In 2016, Ms. Ruhle was honored as one of their Women of the Year. She currently sits on the board and advises for React to Film, an issue-based documentary film series. Please join me in welcoming this incredible keynote speaker, Stephanie Ruhle.
Thank you for having me. Oh, thank you. With an introduction like that, I am guaranteed to let all of you down. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm also two other things. I'm a mom, my #1 job, and the reason I'm here today is because one of my very best friends in the world, you ladies from Stuart, are lucky enough to get to be with every day, Miss Susan Velshi. I was in the car on the way over searching for my glasses, and I thought my glasses are why I need to bring them up because I have to remind myself why I have these glasses. So 3 years ago, I made a documentary in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with one of the most famous oceanographers in the world, a woman named Dr. Sylvia Earle. It took 3 days by boat to get to this remote island. And once we got there, we were doing 5 deep scuba dives a day because we were researching sharks. And in the middle of the trip, I was having a really hard time seeing. I couldn't see the letters on a page. I couldn't read the numbers on a phone, nothing. And we were on this ship for 2 weeks. And on the boat, there was no Wi-Fi, there was no cell service. So as the days went on, I grew more and more panicked. I was losing my sight. I wouldn't be able to see my kids. I wouldn't be able to read. I couldn't look at a teleprompter. And it was getting crazier and crazier, and I was so worked up, and no one on the boat could help me, and I was thinking, I'm starting my career in television. What am I going to do? And it was making me, I was distraught. I couldn't even get out of bed by the end of the trip, that I was losing my eyesight. I land at JFK. As soon as I land, I call the most powerful man I know in New York, whose name is Ken Langone, because he donated all the money to NYU Hospital. And I said, Ken, I'm losing my eyesight, my career, my children, my life. Can you help me? And he said, yes, tomorrow you will wake up and you will go to NYU Hospital. And I woke up and I went to NYU Hospital, and I showed up, and I was like little orphan Annie at the door because there was a line of the best doctors you could ever think of with clipboards, one after the other, and I was there for hours and hours and hours on all these tests. And my husband is home waiting, and my children are waiting, and my TV producers are panicked. And at the end of the visit, the doctor said, how old are you? And I said, 39. And he said, go to Duane Reade, you need readers. And so the point of that story is we need to take ourselves less seriously. We need to lessen the drama. We are not all destined for greatness tomorrow. We just need to lighten up. Go to Duane Reade, get a pair of readers. So thank you. Thank you for having me here. It is a joy. It is an honor. It is a huge deal, this conference. Let me tell you, I do a lot of speaking engagements. The amount of Twitter traffic I got from people who could not get into this sold-out event, you would have thought this thing is Jingle Ball at the Garden. So pat yourselves on the back. You have put together an unbelievable agenda. And today is about learning from some important people that are going to come speak to you, listening to them, exchanging ideas. There is so much meaning and importance in this day. But what I'm also going to tell you is what you're not going to get out of this day. Because what today is not going to do, it's not going to change your life. But tomorrow might. Because today, you're going to listen. And tonight, you're going to think about it. But tomorrow, on that totally average, don't know what you're going to do with your Sunday, tomorrow you could actually do something. So let's just try to take a minute and listen and think about what it takes to be good today. Not what it takes to be great, because I want to talk about what good girls in 2018 look like. In the past, the idea of a good girl was a nice girl. She had perfect grades. She never speaks out. She always does what she's told. She's never late. Her hair is never a mess. She never has chocolate smeared across her face or down her dress. And you know what that good girl is? She's somebody everybody likes. But who in this room has been late before? Who in this room has spoken out of turn? Who's gotten a B-? Who's failed the test? Who has had messy hair or chocolate on their face? Does that mean you're not good girls? No way. It means you're humans. And so the focus should be, what is a good girl? Or how can I be my best flawed self? In 2018, a good girl needs to mean something different. And all of us in this room have the power to change that. So I have some ideas. They might sound really simple. And here's what's really depressing. My ideas are most likely the same exact things your mother tells you all the time, and you don't even listen. But I'm going to tell you why I think they're important, and I'm going to tell you why I think they can make a difference. And I want to start with this idea that you always work for someone. You know, we'd like to think that there's this magic wand, there's a Prince Charming, there's a perfect path, there's a perfect boss, and our life is going to click and it's going to work. But it doesn't. Life doesn't just click. It's a journey, and it's a series of decisions. And every day we have to make decisions with our eyes open. And what we have to always remember is we've always got to work. I grew up in Park Ridge, New Jersey. My dad worked in Manhattan, and my mom, I was lucky enough, stayed home, and she took care of my sister and I. And I can remember being a little girl and dropping my dad off at the train and sitting in the car with my mom and watching all those commuters leave to go and start their day. And I remember looking at my mom sitting next to me and thinking, I want to be one of those people on the train. The people who get to go off and live that other life. Because I thought my mom, she was stuck with me. She didn't get to go have that life. And I remember thinking that the train people, they just seemed so interesting. But what I later learned, it was that they had independence. My grandmother once told me something, and she told me when I was really young, and it seemed totally inappropriate at the time, and your moms are going to think it's inappropriate now. But she said, you don't want to get your money, you don't want to be reliant on getting your money from the same person you sleep next to every night. You want that person to be your partner. You don't want to give them the power to be your boss. You always work for someone. Even the most powerful people I know, CEOs have their corporate boards. Actors have their producers, their directors. Athletes have their team owners. We all work for someone, and so we just have to be aware of that. If you rely on getting your money from someone, realize you're giving them a whole lot. But I knew if I babysat every Saturday night, I could make $75. And so I thought about it, and I said, what's better for me in the long term? $75 every Saturday night, or going to a party? Because a year from now, when I want to sneak out of my mother's house and go to New York City, and I say, can I have money to go out? And she gives me $10, because that's how much it costs to go to the movies. That really wouldn't cut it to go to New York City. So in truth, it was just about save that money, because I want you to have the power when hopefully you need it for something way more important than sneaking out and going to New York City. But the point is, money does represent some level of independence, and I just want you to recognize that. You know, when I started my career, I foolishly thought I gamed the system. I was graduating college, I was getting into investment banking, and I thought, I'm going to work for 10 years, I'm going to gain financial independence, and when I'm 30, I'm going to quit my job, save my money, and start a family. That was my plan, so much so that I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And then when I was 30, I had a couple of other pieces of paper. I had the birth certificate of my first son, but I also had my bonus at Deutsche Bank. And I also had a promotion on that piece of paper. And so it wasn't so cut and dry anymore. And while it might be a high-class problem, it's a real problem. I had a career that I was committed to, and I now was a new mother. And suddenly that grand plan, it just wasn't so obvious. And then after my second son, not only did I want to keep my job, I wanted to change industries and I wanted to move into television. So yes, I made that decision to be a trained person, but you also have to know that every decision you make is a really hard one, because my decision to be a trained person comes at a really heavy price. I don't get to be a sidewalk person, and by that, I don't get to hold my daughter's hand, who's a Sacred Heart girl, and walk her to school every day. At 7:50 in the morning, instead of holding her hand or doing her hair, I'm sitting in a newsroom with 10 producers, preparing to put on a television show, most likely reading President Trump's tweets. Or maybe I'm getting ready to go on the Today Show and getting ready for nightly news. Those are really exciting things, but it's also super sad, because I don't get to study with my kids for their tests at that last minute. I don't get to talk to my son in the last minutes before he goes to school when he's really sad about stuff. Someone else does. Someone who's not their mom or their dad. Somebody who I hire to watch my kids. And I just want you to know there's no right answer. These are really hard decisions. So know that I don't want any of you to simply take a path and think that's the right path that works. Because everything you do in your life is about decision making. And what I want for you girls is to simply make those decisions after having done your homework and with your eyes completely open. You know, the goal of having a family is an incredible goal. It is what I am most proud of. It is what I think makes me best in my professional life. But for me, what's so important is to have a spouse that's my partner, is to have colleagues at work who know that my priorities are my kids. It works for me, but I need you to know that there are no right answers. And in 2018, this good girl, this good mom, this good wife, this good spouse, she is savvy enough to know that I'm always working for someone, and I just want to have as many facts as I can, because there is no one who's going to solve my problem and make my dreams come true. I want you girls to be kind to people. We hear that a lot. Good girls are supposed to be nice to everyone. And Susan Beshel will tell you I'm definitely not nice to everybody all the time. But what does it actually mean? I don't know this good girl definition, and my mom would say, you're darn right you don't. But I do know that kindness is just an easier way to live your life. To girls in this room who are lucky enough to sit at the really cool girl table at lunch, or to sit at that cool art table, I understand the relief you feel when you get the last seat at that cool table and life's going to be okay for you today. But tomorrow there will not be a seat at that table, or when you leave this school and go to the next school and you're not the most popular girl. Do yourself and your community a favor. Instead of taking the last seat at the cool girl table, pull over an extra chair or find another table. It just makes life easier in the long run to be kinder. I promise you this. Say thank you and actually be thankful. This is like a good girl fallacy, the girl who's going, thanks, I appreciate it, thank you so much, enough with her. Say thank you and mean it. It matters. We spend so much time, we're really quick to complain about anything we don't like, but we forget to say thank you. We forget to compliment people when we should. You know, I didn't thank my mom enough, and she's nodding her head right now going, you didn't thank me this morning when you slept in. But she did take me to every single ballet class. She drove me to every single cheerleading practice. She found every single lost library book. And why is that important? Because I know everybody has big dreams. I know you want to go places, I know you want to meet people, but all these places you're going to go and people you're going to meet along the way are part of your journey. Remember who stands with you. My sister's here with me today. My niece is here with me today. That's my team. That's who stands with me. So as boring as you think your mom and dad are, as much as you want them to drop you off at the end of the block and not in front of school, sit next to them and hold their hand, because they're going to be with you forever if you're lucky. I want you to be kind and generous. And this is something that confuses people. Being generous or charitable is not about having a lot of money or a lot of time. And don't be generous and charitable and require getting credit for it. You don't need to start a giant conference. You don't need to launch a campaign. It doesn't have to have a hashtag. You can just do small, good, charitable things every single day in your community. As soon as you're done reading a book, drop it off in the waiting room at a hospital. When you grow out of your clothes, donate them. When you go on vacation next time, if you're lucky enough that you get to go to a Caribbean island on vacation, you know what I really want you to do? Leave your bathing suits behind. Because in the Caribbean, 50% of local children never learn how to swim. And you know one of the reasons? They don't have bathing suits. Because in Caribbean islands, they don't have Target. They don't have Old Navy. They only have really nice hotels with gift shops. So you've got a bathing suit that costs $18. I want you to leave it behind when you're lucky enough to go on spring break and give it to someone. That is going to actually make a difference in someone's life. Go to your neighbor down the street who's a senior citizen and get off your phone and talk to them for 20 minutes, because I promise they're more interesting than the 98th text you've had with your friend today. After 14 years of working on a trading floor, I moved into television, and I was so excited. I was finally getting to work with women. But here's the thing that I learned. It turns out in finance, there's plenty of money to go around, but in TV, there's only so many hours, there's only so many minutes of airtime, and only one or two tushes fits right in front of that camera. And so I realized, oh my God, there is no girl party in television. There's a lot of sharp elbows and people really trying to muscle their way to the front. So I was pretty sure I had used those sharp elbows in my previous careers, but I thought for a second, what if I don't? What if I build a TV show that says, let's celebrate other people, let's find the smartest people here, and let me help them be stars? And that didn't actually take away from me. The truth was, if I stopped counting the minutes I was on television and started helping build people around me up, yes, I was going to be on television a little bit less, but I had created a secret army, all of those people at my network that were now going to pull me up with them. I had created a cheerleading squad just for me. It's easy to know that you want to win. But winning by yourself, that's cool. You get the big trophy alone. You're in a picture by yourself. That's great. But when you win on a team, it's so much better. And I'll tell you why it's better. Not on the winning days. It's better on the losing days. Because when you lose alone, or when you lose and you've treated people badly along the way, nobody's going to pick you up. Nobody's going to say, you'll do better next time. They're going to say, serves you right. But when you lose on a team, you guys are laying in the street or sitting on a bus laughing at what a horrible job you all did today. But you're going to do better next time. And so I want you to fight. I want you to fight for yourselves. But I don't want you to do it with your elbows so sharp. I want you to stand up and speak out with your hearts and your minds and your arms open. Because that is the new way of winning. That is what Good Girls of 2018 look like. And when you win, you don't have to be cutthroat. You don't have to rub someone's nose in it for you to advance. You can act with integrity. And what does that mean? Integrity is misunderstood. It often means, to be upstanding and present yourself with some sort of higher sense of morality. But it also means being whole. It means being undivided. Integrity means following through with one single task. It means doing something and making an impact. It doesn't matter how many ideas you have. It's the one idea that you actually followed through with. You could have thought of Facebook. You could have thought of Uber. That's awesome. You didn't do it. A couple of guys did. So instead of this long list of big ideas, take all those big ideas off and just find one. And I just want you to do it. Because when you start to act with integrity, people will start to believe in you, and more than that, they'll depend on you. And when people depend on you, they don't fire you. As a journalist, it is my mission every day to have an impact. Not just make it through my workday, get through this shift. And I want you to think about in the sense of school, because I made that mistake in school. I can tell you, my calculus teacher, I can tell you exactly what she wore to school every day. I can tell you what her nail polish color was. I can remember exactly when she got her hair highlighted. I knew when she got new shoes. But if you asked me what I learned in calculus, I have absolutely no idea. Because I treated calculus like a shift worker. I was just trying to get through the day. If you're going to spend time in school, make it count, have an impact. Time is one of the few things we cannot control and we cannot get back. So if you are going to do something, actually give your heart and your mind to it. Last year I came to NBC. Oh, well, thank you. Last year when I came to NBC, I came to do two things. I came to be the weekend anchor of the Today Show, and I came to anchor my own show on MSNBC. And I think it would be obvious, what was I most excited about? I was most excited about the Today Show. Of course, it's the Today Show, everybody knows it. Do you know who else loved it? My mom. My mom loved telling her friends, Today Show, you know the Today Show. But here's the thing. The Today Show didn't need me. The Today Show wasn't dependent on me. The Today Show is a machine that exists, and I was part of the machine, but for 6 months, I played a small role, and I didn't have an impact. It did have an impact on my kids, because when you go to work 6 days a week, you're really missing a lot of time from being with your kids. And it was a really hard decision for me, because every Saturday when I would finish my show and scramble and figure out, were my kids in New York, were they at sports, were they visiting their grandparents, and I'd be racing in a car trying to find them, I'd ask myself, did I have an impact on TV in the last 2 hours? I didn't. Lots of people I knew from high school would see a Facebook post or say, oh my God, I can't believe somebody I know is on the Today Show, but I wasn't actually making the Today Show any better. And when I went to the president of NBC and I said, I don't think I should do the Today Show anymore, he thought I was playing a practical joke on him. But the truth is, it was this unbelievable brand that I wasn't making any better. And while that was happening, I was anchoring a TV show on MSNBC at a time when a New York business guy is the president, and I actually know that business guy, and I know an awful lot about him, and that teeny little TV show that I was doing every day was starting to win in cable TV, and I was having an impact. And so, for me, it wasn't about being part of a giant brand name. It was about having an impact. So I left the Today Show, and now I'm part of it as a business correspondent, because when I join the Today Show talking the business that I know, I make an impact. And when I anchor my morning show with my name on the door every day, I make an impact. And when I wake up in my house on Saturday mornings with my kids, and I can eat breakfast with them and take them to sports, that's my best life. And it doesn't matter what it says in my bio or what my mom says at the grocery store. I'm living my best life, and I want you all to think about what makes you fulfilled, not what gives you the most likes from strangers on social media. It matters. And whatever job you have and whatever task you get asked to do at school, sometimes you think it's beneath you. Sometimes you think it's a crummy job and you're too smart for it and you're too good for it. I get that. I've been there. But what I'm telling you is, every job you're given, it is essential to be the best at it. So I want you to be the best food getter, photocopy maker, package deliverer that's out there, because it is how you earn the next job. I found out in the early 2000s when I first started my career, I mean, trust me, I thought I was it when I went into banking. I had studied in Kenya and Guatemala and Italy. I had all the best internships, and I rocked up to Credit Suisse, and they said, "Great, can you get us some dinner reservations?" And I'm like, "What? Is this what you've asked me to do?" And so I had two choices. I could say, "I'm not going to do that," or I could become the best dinner reservationist in New York City in 1999. And here's the thing, I was. And at every one of those dinners that I booked at the hottest restaurants, because those rich old white guys that I work for sure couldn't get into those restaurants. But what I got with all of those reservations was a seat at the table for myself. And that is how I got my next job. So, when you guys have your next babysitting gig, take it seriously. Play a game with those kids. Put them to bed, brush their teeth, and when the kids go to bed, and I'm telling you this as someone who hires babysitters, do the dishes in the sink. Because in 4 years, when you ladies are in college and you're going to want an internship, and you're going to call me on the phone or one of these other parents in the room because you want an internship somewhere, we are going to remember that person was responsible, they were reliable, they were resourceful, and that matters. So do the dishes, because I don't want to do them tomorrow. Good girls show up, and they do their jobs, and they do it well. This is another lesson that's a stinky one. Even though you're here with amazing people who support you, you have to know that no one in this world is going to save you. And I know today you're going to hear a lot about mentorship, and I know mentorship is important. I have had great advocates in my life. But I want you to know that your mentors, you can't take them with you. They do not stay in your pocket and guide you all along. You need to be your own compass. Teachers and mentors are going to help you, but you've got to play the game, you've got to finish the game, you've got to go to college. And it's not about having an edge. This whole idea right now, I know somebody who's on the board at this school and they're going to help me get into college. Here's the thing. You need to go to the school that you should be at. If you're lucky enough that your family knows someone extraordinarily powerful who's going to help you get into school, great. It's going to say the name of that amazing school on your graduation program. And then in September, when you go to that college, you're going to have to deliver there. And if you end up at a school or a job or a situation that's not right for you, you're going to suffer. So the person I think you should bet on, stop betting on your fancy, wealthy, successful friend of your parents and start betting on yourself and working on yourself. You know, every single day in my life, every day, my mother calls me on the phone and she says, "I believe in you. You can do whatever you set your mind to. You might not be the smartest, the tallest, the fastest, but if you set your mind to something, you can do it." And here's the thing. It's true. But what you have to do is believe in yourself, do your homework, and take your shot. There are 6 bathroom stalls in office buildings in New York where I have cried because I didn't get a promotion that I thought I was due. And here's the thing that I realized years later. Lots of those promotions, I didn't actually raise my hand for. I may have been doing all the right things, but I didn't take my shot. And so it's essential for you to do all the homework I talked about, but also believe in yourself, stretch, raise your hand, and say, "I can do it." And that's something I've time and again made a mistake and haven't done. And it is especially true for women If we don't ask, we don't get. There are these ridiculous stereotypes where people say, oh, I assumed you didn't want it. Oh, I assumed you didn't want to go on that trip because you have your kids. Don't give someone else the power to assume you don't want something. Tell them what you want and go for it. What good girls need to do is not believe that they will be rewarded for being good. Good girls need to save themselves, believe in themselves, and lean into it. And this brings me to a lesson I know you've all heard before, but it's so true. And it's not necessarily bad news, but life isn't fair. Doesn't mean that it's not extraordinary, but it's not fair. And if you're waiting for it to be fair, good luck. In school, it's kind of confusing because there's mandated fairness. The whole class takes an exam, the teacher grades it, class, study, exam, grade, rinse, repeat. I get it, that's how school works. But we know that even in America, in co-ed schools, boys might have different expectations than girls have. And here at Stuart, they're doing everything to give you the power to say, I'm going to go out there and be my best, and you are, but you're going to leave this building and realize that life isn't fair. There are people that are going to have advantages that you don't, and you've got to learn to work around it. So I am telling you, it is a waste of your time to count other people's money, their wins, their beauty. You can't change that. All you can do is work hard on yourself. But don't be hard on yourself because you don't have those apparent riches or wins or beauty. It's irrelevant. On this quest for greatness, there are these ridiculous checklists. They're often found in magazines, and people have this idea, if I only had these things, I would be so happy. I'd be happy if I had the starting spot on a team, the lead in the play, an A on a test, a perfect boyfriend or a perfect girlfriend. That's a checklist of items that won't necessarily make you happy. Those are just things. You know, maybe my checklist is the biggest audience or the highest ratings, but I have the opportunity to interview some of the wealthiest, most powerful people in the world. And the thing that's extraordinary to me is so many of them are so unhappy because they obsess over these checklists. Throw the checklist out and realize the best places in life are the tiny, small, everyday wins. It's that your mom or dad was kind enough and thoughtful enough to bring you here today. That's a win. It's that tomorrow you're going to wake up in the United States of America, where with all the divisions we have in this country, we also have the opportunity every day, each of us, to come together. We can be change agents. So you can toil over life being unfair, or you can make it better. So I wish I could tell you otherwise. I wish I could give you the recipe for greatness. I can't. I've got to tell you that life isn't fair, but life is really, really good. And in 2018, a year of independent minds and independent voices, what a good girl is, you have the opportunity to define. So I urge you to go out there and be her.